Hello and welcome to a special episode of Film Bouillabaisse. I'm Logan Albright and I'm here as always with my favorite person, Alison Parker Esquire, to talk about some horror movie DVDs and Blu-Rays that I bought because it's coming up on my favorite time of year, Halloween, and I like to expand my horror movie collection. Alison, how are you?
I'm great. I also love October because of Halloween. We love Halloween. 2 Halloweens ago, we were flying to Ireland and you were wearing your David S. Pumpkin suit. We always talk about horror films, so Halloween always makes me think of you, so I'm very pleased to be doing this episode with you today.
Excellent. And what I like to do every year is expand my horror movie DVD and Blu-ray collection by like about 8 movies or so. And so I bought a bunch of them this year and I wanted to talk about them. And you don't know what they are yet, so we can get your honest reaction to them. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm so excited. I can't even imagine what I'm going to see.
Okay, well, the first one is in the category of I should have bought this years ago, and I don't know why I didn't. It's The Exorcist, classic, many people's scariest movie of all time.
How did you not already own that?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I didn't already own it. First of all, I want to say I hate the slipcover that this came with. It's very ugly. I much prefer the original cover art. And the reason I didn't own this is because I wanted to get the original theatrical cut because all the modern DVD and Blu-ray editions are the director's cut, the extended director's cut. And I wanted to get the theatrical cut because I prefer it, and it was really hard to find. And this is a 2-disc edition that has both on it, so I was pleased to get that. And the reason I like the theatrical cut better is the director's cut adds some scenes which I don't particularly like or think add anything to it. They add in some like later 90s special effects that I prefer the 70s effects. I don't want these added things. It's like a George Lucas treatment, and it changes the ending as well. So I wanted the theatrical cut, and now I have it. Congratulations to me.
Well, William Friedkin directed The Exorcist, and if you like both the book and the movie, there's some really great podcasts on both of those topics. And it is a classic for a reason. I would say that a lot of horror aficionados would probably rank The Exorcist in their top 5, if not top 3, or maybe number 1 horror film of all time. Not me and you. We have The Shining at the number 1 slot. But it really stands the test of time, right? It's haunting. There's these serious evocative tableaus that stick in your head, scenes that stick with you through the ages. Soup, you know which one I mean.
William Friedkin had a background as a documentary maker, and so it really plays realistically. Like, he doesn't play up the horror too much. He just kind of plays it flat and real, and that makes it so much scarier than if he tried to really accentuate the horror aspects of it.
It's great. I'm really glad that you added that to your collection. What else you got?
Okay, so one of my favorite subgenres within the horror genre is disaster at sea movies. I love when things go wrong on the ocean because the ocean is vast and mysterious and terrifying. So I got this 3-pack of Open Water, Open Water 2, and Open Water 3. I don't actually care about Open Water 2 and Open Water 3, but this was the easiest way to get the first movie.
Yeah, okay. Well, Open Water I saw when I was a senior in college, and I think it's relevant because you can feel like that happens. That could happen to you. It's not supernatural. It's not a disaster film where that doesn't happen to everyone all the time. It's something that you could get stranded while you were scuba diving. Would never happen to me. I'm not a water person. But I think that's why it's so relatable. It's kind of like that Ryan Reynolds film Buried, where you don't get to breathe the entire time. It's just an onslaught of bad things happening while you're in open water.
Yeah, so it's based on a true story, and it's these 2 scuba divers who go under the water, get taken out on a boat into the middle of the ocean, go under the water, and while they're under, the boat leaves. And they come back up and there's nothing but water and ocean all around them and they don't know what to do. And that's the whole movie. And it's the scariest thing ever because it could happen in real life. It did happen in real life, and it's terrifying. Now, I should say the sequel to Open Water 2 was not actually produced as a sequel. It was produced as a separate film with a similar premise, and the studio decided to market it as the sequel because it would make more money, and it worked. And I actually haven't seen Open Water 3, but now that I have it on the Blu-ray, I'm going to check it out.
Okay, what you got next?
Okay, so next is this kind of I want to say independent film because it feels like an independent film, but it was co-produced by Blumhouse, so I guess it's not that independent. It's called Creep. You know this movie?
Yes! I've seen it and the sequel. Mark Duplass, my celebrity crush, is in it.
Yes. So it's a found footage film about a guy who hires a documentarian to come over to his house and film for him for a day, and then things get weird and don't go so well. And it's got a great slow build of just madness, and it gets creepier and creepier and scarier as it goes along. I think it was really effective and really good.
It is, because Mark Duplass is an actual, like, legitimate actor who's in this, and you don't often get a lot of finessed talent in found footage films, but he knows what he's doing, so he's able to play a finessed character that seems believable in the role that he's playing. So the final product is quite polished for a found footage horror.
Yeah, and it's actually the director's debut as well, so it's a pretty good accomplishment for a first movie.
And the sequel's great. You should check out the sequel.
I actually haven't seen the sequel. I should watch that.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, I don't know if this is officially a horror movie. It's sort of billed as a thriller or a sci-fi thriller, but I consider it really creepy and really unsettling, so I consider it a horror movie. It's this sci-fi thriller called Time Lapse.
Yes, I've seen that.
Okay, good. The premise of this movie is that three friends find a camera pointed at their apartment from across the courtyard that takes photos 24 hours into the future. And they have to start kind of fulfilling what the photos tell them to do because they believe that if they mess with time, something bad will happen to them. And the photos become increasingly sinister over the course of the film. And it's got a great, like, claustrophobic feeling, a feeling of kind of looming dread throughout the whole thing. It doesn't go for big scares or big shocks or anything like that. But to me, I found it a really deeply disturbing and unsettling film because of the way that they're kind of trapped in the situation by time and things just escalate and get out of control. I really like it.
So it's a time travel thriller, kind of. I mean, they're not traveling through time, but something's traveling through time. And then it reminded me of the French independent film from like 2005-ish or before called Cachet. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there's a lot of similar films to it.
So it really reminded me of that, but it's in a way more straightforward than that film.
It's great because it's got a very small cast. It's only like 4 people on the cast, and they're just basically acting in one room the whole time. And it just really kind of builds up the sense of kind of isolation and claustrophobia. I think it works really well.
It's the perfect film for people wanting to delve into the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, exactly.
Okay, what else?
So I always try to get a movie with one of my favorite classics of horror actors, either Vincent Price or Christopher Lee. And I found this one recently, which I had not seen before. It's kind of a little bit more of an obscure one. It's called Horror Express, and it's got Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it. It's not a Hammer film. It's not Hammer, but it feels like a Hammer film. It's a Spanish film, but it's also got Telly Savalas in it. So it really feels like a Hammer film because of Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Kojak!
Basically what happened is they had a train set. They had access to a train set, and they're like, quick, we need to make a movie with this train. So they decided to film this and slap it together real quick. It's got a lot of cool things in it. It's got a mad monk like Rasputin character in it. Christopher Lee's playing his like most indignant, high-strung Englishman. Peter Cushing is great in it. It's got a little bit of science fiction in it, a little bit of thriller, a little bit of horror in it. It's been beautifully cleaned up and restored. Apparently for years this was only available as a really kind of grainy, dark print. But this is produced by Arrow Video, who I discovered during my Giallo phase when I was really into Italian slasher films. And Arrow Video produces these great Blu-rays that are really like pristine, beautiful prints with tons of special features. So it looks beautiful. It's funny because it's produced in Spain and all the actors spoke their own languages. So most of them were Spanish actors or other European actors who have been dubbed into English. But Christopher Lee, Telly Savalas, and Peter Cushing all dubbed their own voices, which is important because you want to hear their voices. Wow. So yeah, it's a quirky one. It's not overtly scary, but it's fun. It's a fun kind of early 70s horror film in the Hammer genre, although it's not a Hammer film.
I would love to see that. I've never seen it. I love any film that takes place on a train, bar none. I don't think I've ever seen a movie on a train that I didn't love. And I especially love horror films on a train, so I'm in.
Horror Express, it's a lot of fun to have movies on a train. It's a good set because you have all these people who are stuck in the same place together and they start to freak out, and it's got that claustrophobia. It's great.
It's a bottle film, but you're also moving through space.
I also like to do one film every year that's like not really strictly a horror film. It's kind of more of a fun, spooky film. Something like, I don't know, I can't remember what I got last year, but something fun that's not too scary. So I picked up The Corpse Bride this year. Not a scary film, but a spooky film, Tim Burton. And I actually like Nightmare Before Christmas better than this film. It's a better film. The songs are better. But there's something about the aesthetic of this movie that I just love. I love the kind of gray, dreary, Victorian spookiness of it. And I have a lot of fun living in that world and inhabiting it and watching those characters. I think the characters are really well designed. And there's some good Danny Elfman music in here. I love Danny Elfman. So I wanted to pick that one up.
great. It's a new classic.
New classic, right? Next up, we have Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Actually, my favorite Wes Craven film, again by Arrow Video, beautifully restored and beautifully transferred. It's a hillbilly horror film. You know, it's like you go out into the backcountry and there's scary folks out there and they're going to do bad things to you. But I think it's really, really well done. And, you know, it took me a long time to really understand why people love Wes Craven so much, because I've never really been that into the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I like the Scream movies, but like this is when I really first saw that I thought, Wes Craven's really got something special with this type of film, because it's just so creepy, and the actors that they get to play the hillbillies are just so unsettling, and you get this dread coming from it. I think it's a great, kind of more in a slasher genre, but a little bit different. A little bit like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a little bit like House of a Thousand Corpses or something.
Last House on the Left.
Yeah, exactly.
So this film and its sequel terrified me so badly as a child. The cover of the VHS, when I would go to the video store to rent a video with my dad, it scared me so bad. That particular actor that you're talking about that played like the lead cannibal in the first and second, it terrified me so badly. Yes, that guy, him. And I wish I remembered his name off the top of my head. I just don't. But it terrified me so badly that I would have nightmares just from the cover art. So Wes Craven, between that and Freddy Krueger, was responsible for about 97% of my childhood nightmares. It's creepy because it's a family that's in like an RV or a camper that's camping. So you have the illusion of security, right? Like you have doors and windows that ostensibly lock. You have four walls. You should be safe. But are you?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you brought up the cover art, because one of the things I like about Arrow Video is they always do this thing where they have the original sleeve of the original cover art, but they also do a new version that they put so you can reverse it and get this different version. Looks like that. And I love that they have both of those, because I always like the new ones. They're well designed, but then you have the original if you have the nostalgia as well. So that's pretty cool.
It's great. They remade The Hills Have Eyes, I would say 10, 15 years ago, just like they did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Did you see the remake?
I didn't see the remake, but when I was buying this, I had to be very careful to avoid accidentally buying the remake, because it's got the same name.
It has the woman that was in Lost and Roswell in it, Emily D. Ravine. French Canadian, maybe Canadian. That's the only thing I remember about the entire film. I don't remember anything about it except that she was in it, which is usually not a good sign. If I don't remember the film, I was just very underwhelmed. The original, though, it's very haunting.
Remakes are never as good, but it's a great classic. All right, I got one more. My last one is George Romero's Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Okay, so Day of the Dead is the third one.
Yes. So I only saw this recently for the first time. I had seen Night of the Living Dead a million times. I'd seen Dawn of the Dead a bunch of times, and I'd never seen this one because I heard it was like not as good. It's not as popular.
That's because it's not as good.
I disagree. It's my favorite of the three. I really like it a lot. And so I saw it and was like, oh man, this is great. I love the like confinement of it. I love the tension. I love the overacting of the military guy who's screaming at everybody. I love the just the confrontation between the scientist and the military. I love the kind of bleakness of it being in this world where at this point the zombies have just taken over everything, and it's like these few survivors trying to figure it out. I think it's a ton of fun. I like it better than the other two.
Well, you probably think like Aliens 3 is the best Alien film.
No, Aliens is the best Alien film.
That's acceptable. I've never liked Day of the Dead. I don't know why. I figured you wouldn't like it because the whole theme is the real monsters are people.
That's part of the theme, but I don't know. I just think all the characters are really good. It's got real colorful people in it, and I love the way that they act. I love that they don't take it too seriously. The effects and the makeup in this one are by far the best of any of the other Romero movies. The zombies look incredible. There's some like really over the top gore scenes that are really fun. So I just thought it was great. I really liked it.
I didn't think that this was a scary offering of George A. Romero, and I've seen everything that he did, you know, even like the Tower of the Dead. What was that? Land of the Dead. I've seen that, and I actually like that better than, not much, but I even like that better than Day of the Dead. It's very bleak, but it doesn't have that, I guess, supernatural horror that the first two have.
Right. Well, I mean, Dawn of the Dead is very 80s, and it's very like, let's have fun in a shopping mall kind of feel to it, which I like a lot. It's very cool. And this one takes itself, yeah, it is scary, but this one's a lot more serious and a lot darker. So it just depends on what you like.
But then it has the goofiness of the one zombie that they're like trying to train and can talk and stuff, and it just makes it so goofy.
Yeah, he's great. Bub.
Not a fan. Well, that's a great haul. So I hope that you're gonna have a lot of fun zipping through those.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of them already. There's a few I haven't checked out yet. I mean, I've seen them all at some point or another, but there's a few I haven't watched since I got the Blu-rays. So I'll have to be doing that over the next month, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So those are my 8 picks for this year. I'm excited to watch a bunch of them, and I'm excited to figure out what I'm going to buy next year, because I always want to keep expanding my horror collection.
I think that you should get the Criterion version of Midsummer.
Oh, is that coming out on Criterion? I didn't know that.
I believe that it is, and you can watch the director's cut, which Joe and I saw in the theater, which is like 3.5 hours long, and believe me, it really zips.
I probably will get that at some point. I liked Midsummer.
It is. It's great. I don't even know how they would have cut from it to make the film taut enough for a cinematic release. I'm glad we saw the long one.
I saw the cinematic version, so I'll have to see the long one and see what the difference is.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for inviting me into your house again to see your DVD haul. We'll be back with another movie review soon here on Film Blu-Rays. Keep it real.
Keep it real.